Thank you all for joining. My name is Giuseppe Marzelli. I go by Joey. I'm from Ovation CXM. We're really excited about the Greencard webinar. A few housekeeping items. If you have questions, feel free to use the Q&A. We'll be answering questions throughout the webinar via text, and at the end, we'll open it up and answer your questions out loud. And if you have any additional questions, I'll make sure that our contact information is also available at the end. If you registered for this webinar, whether you showed up or not, you will get a recording and you'll get a follow-up of the deck and follow-up information, marketing information will all be available. So we're going to do a few quick updates before we get into the Greencard webinar. I like to keep this around 30 minutes. You are salespeople, so I know I only get your attention for about 30 minutes before you all start to wander off and think about other things. But if you don't know me, some of you are resellers or some of you work with our group, Ovation CXM. We do outsource support, nationwide field services, and activation services for a bunch of ISOs, banks, ISVs. And we also have a journey orchestration platform and an AI-driven support platform that a lot of payment companies, banks, and financial institutions utilize to support their own customers. If you have any questions about any of that or any of your existing relationships, feel free to reach out to Joey at ovationcxm.com. And the reason I do these webinars is to really help out our payment partners. We work with a lot of different ISOs. We work with a lot of different banks that want to resell solutions and need different solutions for different industries. So, part of my motivation around these webinars is helping you guys find new products and also find information about different solutions that you can sell utilizing your own payments, your own mid, and your own relationships. So one quick thing, I know a lot of you are resellers of Swipe Simple. They just released Tap to Pay. I believe this is on their Rapid Connect Nashville. So if you're processing with Pfizer's Rapid Connect Nashville on Swipe Simple, there's Tap to Pay. The benefits here are there's no hardware needed. This is something that I'll probably be doing a webinar shortly in the future. But with no hardware, just a really good cost-effective solution for your merchants if you are using, again, Swipe Simple. And I believe that if you download the Swipe Simple application, it'll still have a lot of the same features as it would if you're using the PAX terminal or you're using, other device, maybe their dongle. So this is a really just good, cost-effective, maybe more of consumer-like, Square-like, small merchant that just needs to get transactions done on their phone. The Tap to Pay is now enabled. And again, it's just for that one processor. I'm sure they'll enable it for other processors, but I'll have more information about that in the coming weeks. Last webinar, we did we basically showed you guys All Set, which is the software for scheduling for spas, salons, anyone who really has a website, maybe where you go or you want to actually select your service, select your service member, whoever's doing your haircut. You select different items like that. You can go in there and you can, with the All Set product, you can go sell this to different. I'd say med spas are the kind of the big industry they're going after, but salons, barbers, anyone who's doing scheduling, and maybe there's like if you're doing pet care, there's a lot of different industries that could utilize All Set. They don't have any reseller fees right now. There are some different commercials that they're going over. So feel free to reach out, heyallset.com/resellers. That was a really great demo last time, just to see that they are competing with, again, the MindBodies of the world, the Garas of the world, and helping you guys, finally have an agnostic solution where you can bring your own mid, your own processing, and sell to different salon type merchants. And then we'll do a webinar coming up as well as Vino. So if you, I believe it's joinvino.com. And so for Vino is a wine management subscription software. So if you are a winery that needs to manage your wine members and you want to have integrated payments, this is the right solution. And they have really affordable, I believe there's no software fees, there's just a per transaction fee. And again, you can bring your own in on this, but reach out to their team. And I'll make sure to also follow up with their website and contact information in the chat. But today we have Greencard, so a payment solution for cannabis merchants. And why I'm excited about this is I've worked with payment companies over the last 10 years, and I've seen every single payment solution fail when it comes to cannabis. And I've seen everyone come, and I even had someone email me like, oh, I have something that's ready for credit cards. I just promise you, if it's credit cards and cannabis, it's just not going to work. I have worked with, actually, in the last year, one of the biggest e-commerce companies that tried to even get PIN debit working. The biggest cannabis e-commerce company, excuse me, that tried to get PIN debit working, and they all got shut down. They shut down like 3,000 locations. And then I had a bunch of cashless ATMs being shut down across a lot of our partners. So finally, there's a solution that works. It's not credit card processing. We have Greencard on here today. I have Jackson joining me, who's going to go over what the program is, how to get started, how you can start selling to cannabis merchants. And again, it is all legal, and we have banks that are backing it because it is all ACH and bank transfer of money. It is not credit card processing. And again, and we're not going anywhere near credit card processing until it's federally legal across the cannabis industry. So Jackson, I'm going to stop sharing. I'll let you take it away, but feel free to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, just looking through the attendees list, I see some familiar names. So welcome back. Welcome to the Green Card platform. For those of you that are new, what we'll do in this call, I know we have 24 minutes now, is I'll kind of walk you guys through the deck, explain a little bit about what Green Card does from a high level, and then we can, with the remaining time, hop into the demo and explore more of what the platform does. In terms of sales, right, I'm going to be the point contact at Green Card. So anything sales related, onboarding related, merchant related, please feel free to contact me and my team. I can be reached at jackson@paygreencard.com. We'll go ahead and put that in the follow-up email with the recording and the deck. So what I'd like to do is just go ahead and get the deck going right now and kind of hop into the solution. Again, as Giuseppe said, please use the Q&A function within Zoom to ask any questions, and then we will touch on those towards the end. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and share my screen here and we'll go through this deck relatively quickly. I'm sure all you guys are pretty familiar with the pitfalls and challenges of cannabis payments. So this is Green Card, a little bit of a background. It was developed by our founder, Luke Blackmore, who's on this call. So he's a cannabis user. I'm a cannabis user myself. And we recognized having the payments experience into cannabis that there really wasn't a compliant solution to pay for cannabis. As Giuseppe said, cashless ATMs have had their time and place in the industry, same with PIN debit. But what we're starting to see is a general shutdown across all of these debit solutions. So what we wanted to do is really approach it from a different standpoint. People are beginning to use integrated payments, embedded payments, mobile payments with Zelle, Cash App, Venmo. ACH solutions are becoming more popular as, the tech kind of builds itself around it. So what we wanted to do is kind of provide that Venmo-like Cash App experience for the cannabis industry so customers can pay with one-click payments via their bank account. And that's what we've done with Green Card. So in this deck, we'll kind of talk about some of the challenges. We'll go through those very quickly because we've already touched on a few of them. We'll introduce Green Card, talk about our core verticals. We'll dive into some of the extra features and modules we have with the CRM, loyalty, and outreach, and then we'll hop into the demo. Starting from the top, right, when cannabis was legalized in 2014 in Colorado, the main compliant way to pay for cannabis was cash. Cash is still king when it comes to compliance in cannabis. That's why when you walk into a dispensary, most of the time you're either paying with cash or you're going to the ATM and you're withdrawing, $100, $200 for a fee. There's a reason why we don't use cash as much anymore in traditional businesses. It's because it's slow, right? There's a certain percentage of the revenue that goes towards cash handling, armor transportation, and deposit fees. And then because this is a high-risk industry, and I'm not trying to profile, right, we do see higher incidences of internal and external theft when you have cash on hand. Kind of the new dawn of payments within cannabis came with these PIN debit and debit-based solutions. These are cashless ATM, PIN debit terminals. And I'm sure, as you guys know, right, when you place these systems in a dispensary, as soon as they're turned on, they're baseline non-compliant, whether it be misappropriating the MCC code for a grocery store, a gas station, a flower shop, or they're using MCC 6011 and they're putting it on the cashless ATM network, coding transactions, hiding the true nature of what's going on at the dispensary. What we've seen with bigger MSOs like Trulieve as well as smaller dispensaries is Visa, MasterCard, they're catching on. MasterCard released a memo saying, we're not going to process with cannabis businesses anymore. We're going to shut them down. And then Visa has kind of noted that they're going to stop doing the secret shopper program and start just deploying AI protocols into the system to view these discrepancies. So 2025 is going to be kind of a big push away from debit-based solutions. We've already seen with our merchant base and our leads that we've prospected, there is a sentiment within the industry amongst the owners that they're trying to stay away from the solution, but they are kind of hamstringed, right? Because it's the only way for them to accept plastic. We've also seen some missed opportunities on the delivery and pickup side of things. So When it comes to delivery and e-commerce, right now, the standard for payment is cash on delivery. That means as a business owner, right, I'm speculating that the customer is going to have X amount of dollars in cash at the time of delivery. Most of the time, deliveries, happen without a hitch. But what we do see is that one customer that doesn't have cash on hand, or they don't have the full amount, it leads to missed deliveries, inefficient orders. What we want to do with Greencard is guarantee prepayment. So customers can go online, they can prepay with Greencard, they can prepay using pay links, and I'll go ahead and show you guys that in the demo. Additionally, I have this issue out here in SoCal. I'm not sure where most of you guys are based, but pay at pickup often leads to abandoned orders. So people will, put in an order at noon during their lunchtime for pickup after work, realize there's an hour and a half of traffic and never go pick up the order. What we're trying to do with Greencard is guarantee those payments in store so you can package that order full well knowing that you've already gotten paid. The lack of CRM data, now this won't be as applicable to bigger dispensaries that have a CRM, but what we have recognized with Greencard is that for the cash-only businesses, it's very hard for them to track their customers. So what we do with Greencard is, we come in side by side the cash options, and we allow the merchant to track payments and their customers across all revenue streams. So we're going to give you email, phone number, and then the ability to market directly within the Greencard platform. Like I said, from a high level, right, we wanted to take the ease of use that people are so familiar with in Venmo and Cash App and Zelle and take those same ACH banking rails to the cannabis industry. And that's what we've done with Greencard. So from a high level, right, we are bank-to-bank payments. So customers can pay directly from their bank accounts, completing transactions in under 20 seconds across all revenue streams. As you guys will see, it really takes 5 seconds to pay once you've signed up. Now, we are a non-cash alternative. So at its baseline, we're improving security and efficiency by eliminating cash and debit transactions in store. That being said, we're not exclusive to a dispensary in terms of payments, right? Our big model is that we understand that ACH is a new solution in the industry. So you can still have your cash options, you can still have your debit options, and then you can pair Greencard right beside. So you can kind of have a portfolio of options for your customers to pay. And I'll dive into that towards the end of the call as well. Compliance and security, right? Unlike PIN debit and cash, we have that baseline compliance. So we adhere to the FinCEN 2014 federal guidelines, which pretty much outlined what a business or a financial institution needs to do to remain compliant when working with cannabis companies. I'll include that in the follow-up email as well, so you guys have a clear kind of understanding of how Greencard positions itself compliantly. And then, right, with those valuable customer insights, for every transaction, we're tracking the customer, allowing you to market and engage in loyalty to no extra cost to the merchant. So what we do with our checkout flow, our ACH checkout flow, is really our bread and butter is that in-store flow. Customers can use their phone, they can use their either a web checkout or the mobile app to scan a QR code, pay that either in Safari or within their app in around 5 seconds. And then what we do is we take those same ACH rails and we apply them to every revenue stream in store. So a big one now is e-commerce and prepayment, allowing customers to pay online before they go pick up or deliver. So we do that with our e-com API. One of the great things about Greencard is we're not like Dutchie and we're not like Trees. We don't own the customer's SEO. It's run by them. It's their marketing. It's their branding. It's their online presence. What we do is just incorporate our API on the back end, like PayPal or Venmo or Klarna, just another payment option. And then we have invoicing and pay links. So pay links are great for B2C customers that are doing delivery. It allows the customer to call into the store, and then you can send a pay link to that exact number, asking them to pay the ticket amount, and then you can send out the driver or have them pick up in store. And then in the same vein, we have invoicing, which is email invoicing for B2B companies. So cultivators, growers, distributors up to $1 million. This has been great for that side of the industry as well, because they've been using cash and checks for such a long time that we can finally introduce some efficiency into their flow, giving them a invoicing dashboard, as well as giving the payees a place to track all their invoices to the distributors. We do have vending. So in California and Colorado, we work with a vending company called Digital Media Vending Incorporated, and they do age-verified vending machines. So this is an older model, but it has a 12:8 touchscreen on it. A customer will go through, they'll select their items, they'll verify their customer ID, scan a QR code or Greencard, those items will dispense and they can head to the store. This is great for just triaging those everyday customers away from the counter and into a faster solution. Like I said, we do capture customer information. So every time someone pays, you're getting email, phone number, and if you're connected to a point of sale, buying history, right? With loyalty, this is something we're building out come beginning of summer. So this is going to be a full loyalty dashboard for each dispensary using Greencard. As an owner, you can track parameters, you can track your customers, and then update that as you go. And then we have outreach. So full email outreach, grouped outreach, and scheduled outreach. We are adding SMS right now. So you'll be able to have a full outreach engine within the Greencard dashboard. So again, go ahead and put your questions in the chat and we'll touch on them towards the end of the call. But I'm going to stop sharing and pull up the demo. All right.
Okay,
So
great. And I got a list of questions for you. So we'll go through the demo and then we'll wait till the end of that.
sounds good. All right, guys. So this is the Greencard demo. On the right-hand side, we're looking at the customer experience. So this is the customer application. You can find this on the App Store, Greencard Payments, or on the Android store. This is really going to have everything a customer needs to pay. So it looks a lot like Venmo. All your connected bank accounts are on the top. All the dispensaries using Greencard are down below. If you go one tab over, you can search dispensaries in your area by zip code, by name. Once you go through here, two tabs over will be your full ledger of payments to all dispensaries in the past. So you can view where you've spent your money, how much you've spent, all that good stuff. And then over on the right-hand side is all of our connected bank accounts. So as you'll see, you can add as many bank accounts as you want. You only have to add one to have that instant payment, right? Once you add a bank account once with Greencard at any dispensary, any time after that you pay, no matter the location, dispensary, delivery, your information is going to be saved and it's going to be one-click checkouts from there on out. You'll see towards the bottom, it does say credit card. So our credit card rails are ready to go when cannabis becomes deschedulized. So in order to compete with the other players out there, we want to be able to load credit cards into our system and be ready to go when everything gets repealed. On the left-hand side, this is the merchant dashboard. So when a merchant loads up a Greencard and onboards, this is going to be the first thing that they'll have access to. Now, this is a web-based dashboard, so they don't need any new hardware. They don't need any new material. This loads up on an iPad. Most of our dispensary owners have an old iPad laying around. If you guys do hardware leasing, that's fine. You guys can lease them iPads, things like that. Overall cost is pretty cheap. But again, this is all web-based. So when an owner first signs on, they're going to have access to their merchant dashboard. Now, as an owner, this has really everything I need to view the financial health of my dispensary. So total transactions for this month, total amount transacted, tips generated. I can view my merchant agreement here if I'd like. On the right-hand side, we have our processing profile, so our fee, our ACH credentials, charge limits, and payout limits. Right down here, we have our API keys. So if you're connected to a website, we work with WooCommerce, Shopify, Wix, Foursquare. We have a direct integration with WooCommerce. Some of the other builders like Shopify or Wix do require more of a custom integration, and we'll help you guys build that out. As you go down, you'll have a snapshot of your recent transactions. This is really great if you're an owner. You can load up this dashboard on your phone and just make sure everything is going well at your dispensary. Now, one of the big things about Greencard is visibility, right? We don't want our bud tenders to be able to see total revenue for the dispensary. And because of that, we create employee accounts. So every bud tender, every manager, every security guard is going to have an employee account within Greencard. This will allow them to track their tips independently of one another. It allows you as the owner to set permissions of what they can and can't see on the left-hand side. And those update, as you see fit. You can also, delete customers as they get fired. Getting into the bread and butter of Greencard is our ring up functionality. So this is our in-store ring up. This is what a customer is most likely going to use at a lot of your dispensaries. And what's going to happen here is I'll just kind of explain the flow. Customer's going to walk through the store. They'll pick out a few items, maybe a pre-roll and a pack of gummies. From there, the bud tender is going to ring them up on the point of sale. We do work with an integrated point of sale called Acadia Point POS. We also work unintegrated with other solutions like Dutchie, Trees, Blaze, Meadow point of sale. And what we do there is the bud tender is going to ring them up, just like how you go over to a PIN debit terminal or a cashless ATM. They're going to bring that transaction over to Greencard, type that amount in, and click go. Now from here, the customer is going to go to their app. They're going to use that handy dandy green button right at the bottom, scan that QR code. The ticket's going to load up automatically on their phone. They can add a tip. We have that service fee in the bottom right corner. And then we can transfer the total funds. Now with Greencard, we don't charge a platform fee. We don't charge a licensing fee. We just charge a per transaction fee. Traditionally, we priced it out at around $3.50 just to come in line with the average with cashless ATMs and ATM fees. So those are the total fees on the back end. Obviously, this account is at $4. But as the merchant, you can pass through that fee to the consumer, so it becomes a zero cost option to the merchant. We'll see that we have success on both sides, on the bud tender side and on the customer side. but I do want to show you the second function on RingUp. So if the customer comes in store and they don't have the mobile app downloaded and they just don't want to download it, we understand that having to download an app is another point of friction. What they can do is a web-based checkout. So we'll enter this amount again, we'll click go, and it will generate a QR code link. I'm going to go to my phone camera. I'll scan this. It'll take me to Greencard, and this is going to be a web-based flow. So in this case, I'm going to enter my phone number. I'm going to get an OTP. Once I get that, I'll select my checking account. I have a tip, and I'll transfer that $59. We're doing a real-time balance check in the back end to make sure the customer has funds, and then we'll see success on both sides. So you can use the app. You don't have to use the app, right? We allow them to check out both ways. Now, each of these transactions are recorded automatically in the transactions tab within Greencard. So we're keeping a running ledger of everything going through Greencard. You can click on these transactions, get some more information on them, their email, who the customer was, where the payment originated from, and if they'd like to request a refund. We can also generate reports based on this transaction data. So we have reports for day, week, month, custom reporting period, transaction reports, earning reports, tip reports, fee reports. And then we can actually track sales leaders amongst your bud tenders and tip leaders. So you can see, who's doing the best, who can you train better, all that good stuff. And then if you are using QuickBooks or Apex or whatever you use for your cannabis invoicing, right, you can download it to either PDF or CSV to upload it into your accounting software to keep everything together. Now, getting into some of our other payment options are Paylinks. So Paylinks is something that's been, one of our newer functions that we love in a lot of our delivery services that use Greencard love, and it's because of the ease of use through SMS. So someone calls into my store, I say, hey, Jackson, great, we love your order. We're going to send you out a Paylink. Is this number that you called at a good number for us to send a Paylink out to? They say yes. You can just input that phone number. You don't have to input a name or anything like that. It'll ask you to create a Paylink. So we can do order number 45, and we'll type in an amount for $100. Once I create that Paylink, it's going to get sent automatically to the customer. So I'm going to scroll down here, open up my texts, and see that I have a Paylink. I'll click there and we'll go through that same web-based flow for $14. So I'll log in.
And if it's my first time on the Webflow, do I have to put in my, I imagine I had to put in my bank account information, right?
So for the first time you go through the Webflow, you'll have
Yeah.
to bank information, you'll have to sign up. I'll send you guys a video of what that looks like after. We use MX, which is very similar to Plaid. So a customer has to enter their phone number, their email, and then what we do is instant bank verification, right? So we're going to go on, they're going to put in their mobile banking credentials, connect their bank account, and that's it. It takes around 45 minutes or 45 seconds to a minute to get everything done. What we do, and I'll explain this towards the end, is we have a whole kind of deployment packet that we send to a lot of our dispensaries in that when they get boarded, we send them documentation to have in store. We send them, advertisements to put on the TV so people can sign up via QR. And then we have a deployment team, right? So we'll send ourselves out there. We also do a free pre-roll program. So what I've learned with cannabis users is they'll do anything for free weed. So we give them a free pre-roll if they sign up and pay with Greencard, and we've seen massive success in that. So one of the things that differs from Greencard and other ACH-based payment solutions for cannabis is that we are going to make sure the solution is successful, right? We're going to put it in store, we're going to help you deploy it, and then we're going to make sure that it's something that actually works with your dispensary. Like I was saying, right, we're non-exclusive. So a lot of the time when I come into a dispensary, they say, hey, Jackson, we already have cashless ATM, we already have PIN debit. Why do we need Greencard? We get that it's compliant. What I usually say is, let's put Greencard in the back end, right? Let's put it side by side, your cash, your cashless ATM, your PIN debit. And what we'll do is we'll begin to migrate customers over slowly. So they can still use the PIN debit terminal, they can still use the cashless ATM, they can still use cash. But over time, we're going to get those customers to the compliant solution so that in 2, 3, 4 months' time, you have a majority of your customers using Greencard, and there's no risk associated with taking payments. Let me go ahead and get this OTP sent again. Looks like we're getting an invalid OTP here. There might be a slight issue. So we're just going to log out of here and go back to Greencard. But the Paylink function sends out the Paylink, it comes back, and then we close it out. Again, all these transactions are tracked within the transactions tab. And then in the same vein, we have invoices. So this is for cultivators, growers, distributors up to $1 million. So to create an invoice, it looks fairly similar. You can enter the email of your payee. If they're not a customer, it doesn't matter. When they click pay, it's going to ask them to sign up, as Giuseppe was saying. If they're already in your CRM, great. You can just search for that name and it will show up. In this case, I'm going to type in my email. search for that customer, and then create the merchant invoice. Now, if I'm using QuickBooks, if I'm using Apex, I can upload an invoice to keep a full description there, or I can go with a description invoice. In this case, we'll do an ounce of Gorilla Glue 4. Let's just do 100 units at $200. So this will create a $20,000 invoice. We'll create that, and that's going to get automatically sent out to that payee. As you see, it's open right here in the statuses. I'll go over to my email, refresh. Acting as the payee now, I'll see that I have an invoice from a cultivator, from a grower, from a distributor. We'll co-brand this to their name, their imaging, their wording. We'll see that we have a $20,000 invoice and a service fee. And again, we'll create the description completely custom to you. So if you guys want an image in there, you want description, you want pricing, you want quantity, we can help you build that out. And then we have the option to either pay or reject. To pay the invoice, it'll take us directly to the Greencard payment flow. Here, we'll have login information. It'll ask us to log in with our email or phone number. I'm going to grab that one-time password from my phone. So once I have that, 2725, we're going to log in, we're connected to our bank accounts, and we'll transfer those funds. Again, doing the real-time balance check in the back end to make sure they have the money in their bank account, and then we pull it. Getting back over into Greencard, we can refresh this tab. We'll see what was once open is now all paid. I can go into my email. I'm going to have an invoice confirmation. So we'll see that as the payee, I'm all confirmed. My money went out, $20,000. Again, we'll co-brand this to you and your business. Now, as the customer, I also have a dashboard to view all my payment invoices to the cultivator, to the distributor, to the grower. And we kind of gamified here. So you can see how much you're sending over the course of the week, your total transactions. And then if you want to see a monthly report of how much money you're sending to your partners, you can see that here. Getting more granular, you can see all your transactions over the course of your history at your dispensary. And then if you have any open or unpaid invoice, pay those directly within this customer payee dashboard. Just by clicking on this link, it'll bring you right to the payment area once again. Getting back over to Greencard, again, we'll see that this is all paid up. And then we can touch on vending. So vending is a little bit different. Like I was saying, it's only legal in California and Colorado. And what we do is once the vending machine gets shipped to you from our vending partners, it comes pre-installed with Greencard. All you're gonna have to do is put in the ID number, the name, and the address, and they begin talking to each other. You'll have an ability with them to manage inventory and pricing. And then anytime someone pays, as I was saying, we're tracking the customer through our customers and payees tab. So you're gonna get name, email, phone number. If they left sunglasses in store, they left their wallet on the counter, you can send them a one-off email right here. We also have a full outreach engine. So email outreach using templates, grouped outreach if you have consistent customers or VIP clients. And then we have scheduled outreach. So if you guys want to do a 7/10 promotion, if you want to do a winter promotion, you can type those up right now and schedule them to get sent at a later date. Running through settings, this is pretty boilerplate. We have change password, change phone, login history, activating two-factor authentication. You can choose your OTP preference, and then company info is going to be everything public facing. So your logos, your images, your name. And then right at the bottom, our bank requires us to have an ACH descriptor. So one of the main ways and why we are compliant is that we're completely transparent with our transaction from the customer to the merchant. And part of that is an ACH descriptor. So when I go pay at a dispensary, if I pay $45, I know, and I go to my bank account, I know exactly where I spent my money. It's not going to have a weird phone number. It's not going to say Jackson's Merchant Services. It's clear to the dispensary's name. Last but not least, the transactions tab. Now, this is where the merchant can pass through that service fee to the customer. This is completely customizable by them. They can turn it on, they can turn it off, and they can toggle different amounts. So if they just want to cover a fraction of the cost, that's fine. If they want to generate a little bit of revenue per ticket, they can mark that number up and save that within Greencard. Last but not least, now we're kind of going through this quickly, but is our website flow. So again, this is hosted by the merchant. It's their SEO, it's their branding. We just come in as a payment widget at the end. So your merchant will have a full menu, their full product offerings. Customers will go through, choose a few items. Once they have a cart loaded, they'll go ahead and run through checkout, filling in all this information. Order summary, again, this will all be coded to the merchant. This will be their flow. And then we populate right down here with pay with Greencard. So once you select this option and click place order, without leaving the WooCommerce flow or the website flow at all, you'll log in. We're going to get that one-time password again from Greencard. Bear with me as it gets sent to my phone. Give me a second, guys. 3767. Once we have that code, we'll go ahead and pay. Again, doing that real-time balance check in the back end. Once we've paid, we can click thank you, and we're brought back to the e-commerce page. So you can have your order summary, your details, THC gummies ×3, and then where we're shipping the address, or if you're going to come in store and pick it up, you're going to be order 343. Getting back over into Greencard, again, all these are tracked within the transactions tab live. So we have that $35 transaction come in right now. But that is Greencard, guys, from a high level. I know we have
Thank
some
you, Jackson.
questions.
That was great, and it was great to see both sides of the transaction. So yeah, we got a lot of questions about the economics and the commercials. So how do I make money as an ISO if I'm working with Green Card? What is the arrangement, and how does the agreement work?
Yeah, so we get Greencard. So we work with our banks with Greencard, so they give us a buy rate of around $1.75. We pass that through directly to our resellers, and then there's going to be a rev share from there. Traditionally, we see Greencard priced around $3.50 to $4 to the merchant. So based on your Schedule A, based on your agreement with Greencard, we see agents generate anywhere between $1 to $1.50 per transaction. It is going to be a flat per transaction fee. We have done basis points in the past. The reason why we transferred over to a flat fee model was to fall more in line with cashless ATMs and ATMs in general. They don't charge a percentage fee, so we just wanted to fall in line there.
And then, guys, I'm seeing questions about cashless ATMs and saying that they would make more money on it. Yeah, well, they're also shut down, so it's hard to make money on things that you can't use. So that's the whole purpose of this, is to keep it at a reasonable cost, that you're not also just killing these merchants, because they've been screwed over several times, especially in the cannabis industry,
And
kind of migrating between products. But one of the key things that I think, hearing this webinar today, there's a few things that kind of stood out to me. And one of them is like the buyer's remorse that I think people probably have with buying weed. You spend $200 online, and then, or you hold $200 worth of inventory, and then you're driving there and you decide, oh, I don't actually need all that. To get the payment up front, it doesn't waste the merchant's time. I think that's really helpful. Also, lived in California for 10 years. You have people who are driving around with a lot of cash doing deliveries for dispensaries. That's pretty risky as well, having someone vulnerable to have that much cash for them. So it's kind of music to the ears of these cannabis groups to say, like, you don't have to be holding cash all the time. You can get the pre-authorization or get payment up front from the buyer. That's a big that's super effective, I think.
yeah,
We got a lot of questions that came through. I answered some of them. One of the benefits for the ISO, Jackson just went through that. So the commercials are, and Jackson, just say that one more time, or do you want to put that in the chat? What is the commercials again? The
yeah,
buy rate and kind of how you guys do that. Why don't you just throw it in
yeah.
the chat just so everyone can see that?
I'll throw it in the chat. And then while I throw this in the chat, I want to talk about kind of the cashless ATM side of things. Cashless
Sure.
ATM is just an in-store solution, right? So when you're placing a cashless ATM in your dispensary, you're just getting in-store payments. With Green Card, you're able to get payments across their entire revenue model, right? So in-store, great, but we also can support them on delivery. We can support them on e-com. So you really are controlling payments from all revenue streams of the dispensary, not just in-store. That being said, you can still place your cashless ATMs side by side with Green Card, right? It's not really an extra effort from you guys. It actually, kind of saves the dispensary if that cashless ATM goes down. So what we do like to do that with people that come from the cashless ATM space is really hedge with Green Card, right? Still sell the cashless ATMs, but put Green Card side by side and say, you know what? If this solution goes down, we have something that's going to keep running in your back end. But let me go ahead and put these schedules in the chat while Giuseppe goes through some more questions.
Yeah, and then I got a real time, how are we doing real time balance check in ACH? So MX, that software, that integration gives Green Card real time access to their bank account. Green Card hits an API until they get a response showing that there's basically showing that there's funds available within a few seconds. This is how obviously Green Card can also get a real time balance. And then let me see here. What are the funding times for the merchant? Funding is next day. And is there a limit to amount of invoicing or funding delay or larger transactions? There is not a funding delay for larger transactions, but each merchant should be verified by Flex, another partner, for a certain transaction ceiling, which Flex will provide to that customer during onboarding and with the Green Card team and your team. So they'll be super transparent about all that. Again, in any case, they're always looking for bad behavior, right? So obviously money laundering and things like that, and especially with the cash heavy business. So if there's all of a sudden a random $20,000 charge when every transaction's been $100, or less or more, like that's a flag, right? So it's all about transparency, understanding, are they going to have large invoices maybe every once in a while that are maybe 10 to 20,000 that are very different from their everyday transactions. That's something that I'm sure a lot of you see in common, in just the payments industry, but something to also kind of keep an eye on. All right, so Jackson, I know you put the buy rate in there, and so you'll work with the Green Card team directly on your agreement, and then you'll have the ability to mark up to whatever you feel is, obviously justified to your customer. How are disputes handled right now,
Yeah, so
Jackson?
yeah, disputes are handled through Greencard. So, like I said, you guys saw different points of verification. So, what we do is we collect all this data in the back end, verifying that the customer is paying. If a dispute is sent, we're able to kind of verify at certain points across the transaction if the customer was fraudulent or this was a real transaction. So, with Greencard, and this is something we're working on right now, when a customer signs up, we have the right to recharge that account if we find that it was actually a false dispute. So, we are always kind of clawing that money back to make sure that the customer pays. Again, that's handled by us, not the merchant.
Is there a way to offer a 90-day promo rate with a normal rate already priced to increase adoption? I think so. Let's talk about a few different things here, right? One, it's costing money, right? They're giving you the buy rate. You can do whatever you want as an ISO, as an independent reseller to entice. And Green Card will always work with you if you have a good idea on saying, "Hey, I got a big dispensary, or they have multi-location. Let's figure out a really good plan for them on maybe we can cut their costs for the first month." They're happy to work with you. They're not just going to give you obviously free services and just say go sell free services. It's more of, hey, I have an opportunity. Here's what the size is. Green Card, can you help me out? Absolutely, they'll work with you on that. And then I'm getting a lot of point of sale integration questions. So they have one integration right now with Acadia. They do have different process flows to work with trees, Blaze, all those other point of sale. But if you have a point of sale that you want to integrate, again, just reach out to Jackson at paygreencard.com. He can help you kind of get, they can help kind of scope that with you. And absolutely, they're open to other integrations, but they're not just going to integrate to every point of sale unless it's a really good use case. And I think one of the things that really stood out to me too, in this hearing this webinar, was when Jackson kind of pinpointed that like they have credit cards ready to go and those become legal. And I don't know, I feel like it's any time now where that, if the federal government makes that rule, you'll already have the portfolio. So you can literally switch them overnight if you're utilizing Green Card and say, hey, by the way, you can still use credit cards. You can now use credit card with our platform without having to send them a new terminal, without having to do all this stuff overnight, right? Or be worried about someone else who doesn't have the relationship going in and trying to get that credit card in there. So I think that's really great that you have a great way to start. You have a nice way to start a relationship right now. And then when credit cards become legal in the cannabis industry, you can turn on overnight for them. Let me see some more questions here. Is it just, or go ahead.
Yeah, I'll touch on these last two. So is it just bank account connections, or can you connect your credit cards? As Giuseppe just said, right now it's just pay by bank, right? When things get deschedulized, we will add credit cards to our flow. As you see, we already have the rails built out. We're just not going to open them up yet because it's not federally legal yet. Dawn, you asked what are some of the rejections that have been popping up? Our main rejection that I've been seeing in my sales is that we already have cashless ATM, we already have PIN debit. Why do we need something that's another addition to our flow? And that's fully understandable. With Green Card, what we say to that is, it's a non-invasive option to your flow. Your mud tenders are already familiar with inputting in a cashless ATM. In this case, they're just inputting in Green Card. What we also say is using Green Card is not going to push out any of your other solutions. Like I was saying, what we do is we hedge, right? For these bigger dispensaries, we say, keep using cashless ATM, keep using your PIN debit. The customers that like that solution, they'll keep using it. Over time, what we can do with our deployment team and our free pre-roll program is slowly triage those customers over to Green Card. So over time, what we say to them is Green Card's not going to cost you anything to have in the back. Again, there's no licensing fees. We're just going to charge you when it gets turned on. So until that point, you can keep it in the back end, you can keep it behind, and really feel comfortable with the solution before you fully deploy it. Is there any option for?
Go ahead.
Just touch on this last question, or Giuseppe, why don't we finish on that one before we go on the next one?
Is there any so was there any option for white label ISO, or could you? Yeah, so there is. I believe that there is a fee. So there's no fee to work with Green Card today. You can just sell obviously you sign your agreement, you get your buy rate, you just sell. If you want white labeled services, if you want specific integrations, you can work with the Green Card team, and they have a pricing menu for white label stuff and things like that. There are some limitations with banks. You can't just white label everything because it has to be powered by Green Card Pay, because that's the payment solution that the banks have verified. So you can get your colors in there, you get your logos in there, your branding in there, but there might be some, depending on the billing or where the statement, things like that, there might be some pieces where it has to be powered by Pay Green Card. So just
Right.
giving you the heads up on that. So more questions for you, Jackson. So one thing that I asked you this a while back was like, what are some of the common objections you get when you're running into when you're positioning Green Card for these cannabis groups?
Yeah. So a lot of it kind of falls in two different veins, right? We work with a lot of cash only businesses that have kind of been screwed over by cashless ATMs and PIN debit. So they're very wary of anything that's not cash. For them, when we come in, they say, we don't want credit cards, we don't want PIN debit, we don't want debit, we like cash. And what we say is, great, this solution operates in the same vein in terms of compliance as cash. It just offers your customers a more modern and kind of embedded way to pay for cannabis. So you're still going to get the same compliance benefits that you have with cash. It's just going to be quicker, right? You're not going to have to do deposits. You don't have to have a guy come to your store every day to transport the cash to your bank. You're not dealing with possible theft of in-store or external robberies, right? This just allows you to have a different option from cash. And then on the same vein, kind of what I was talking about with Dawn is that there are a lot of dispensaries that are tied to trees, they're tied to Dutchy, and they're paying, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month for these fully integrated solutions. What we can offer them is kind of a break away from that, right? They don't need to be part of the Dutchy ecosystem to use green card payments. They don't need to be part of the trees ecosystem to use green card payments. So when it kind of comes to it, we're both integrated and agnostic, and that kind of gives us flexibility to place wherever. When it comes to these larger MSO dispensaries, right, they have the bank connections in place. They have cashless ATMs that probably aren't going to get shut down. But what you can say to them is exactly what I said previously. We have a solution here that customers are liking. It's quick, it's fast. It gives you an ecosystem for customers to pay. And then, we can also white label it to you guys. So if you're a dispensary and you're interested in having kind of your own payment solution that's specific to your 4, 5, 6 locations, what we can do is exactly what Giuseppe was saying, is put your imaging on it, put your branding on it, and make it feel like a payment system that's built for the dispensary. And then lastly, right, like I was saying, you can always have green card in the back, not pay anything, and turn it on when you want. So it's really no risk to the dispensary to give it a shot. We help them with onboarding, deployment. There's no fees there. We train their bud tenders. When it comes to you guys as the sales agent, we do training, we do onboarding, and we do support. So as you guys get used to the cannabis space, if this is something new for you guys, please leverage me and my team for sales calls, for demos, for onboardings. And then we have a whole portfolio of training solutions for you guys. So we have one-pagers, we have decks that my team can customize to your ISO, to your branding, to your name. We also have battle cards. So if you guys need information of how Green Card stacks against other solutions out there, both in the ACH and cashless ATM space, we can get those over to you. So we try to load you up with as much of a foundational understanding of both cannabis and green card payments, so you guys feel comfortable kind of going out. But that doesn't mean you can't reach out to me or my team and leverage our resources.
What are the target merchants that I should be going after? Like, does it matter? Is it if it's cannabis, I should just go after them with Green Card, or is there some kind of like the ones that fit in with this realm, within these parameters are good to go after? What would
Yeah,
be your answer to that?
yeah. So our target business with Green Card, and where I've found a lot of success myself with my direct sales, is smaller mom and pop shops. These are dispensaries that are, newer to the scene. They've kind of been, you know, tossed around a little bit. They kind of sold the expectation that cannabis was going to be a cash cow, and now they're realizing it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of money to have a dispensary. So what we're doing with them is we're pretty much just offering them value, right? It's the ability for them to consolidate their payments into something that's a little bit easier than just cash. And these smaller dispensaries are very open to talking with you. They know, sometimes they don't know about the compliance issues, but unlike restaurants, unlike retail, these owners are open to talk and they're open to working with you. As long as you can offer them some kind of value and show them that this is a solution that's going to bring them long-term confidence as a customer, then most of the time they see the value in it. I've also had some great success with delivery companies. So these delivery companies pop up like whack-a-moles. They get their licenses super quickly in California and some of these other states that they're always popping up. And a lot of the time they're using Zelle for payments. So if you go to Weed Maps and you just type in delivery services in your area, there'll be a whole list of companies. And that's where I prospect is Weed Maps. So Weed Maps has their phone number. Most of the time that phone number goes directly to a bud tender or to a manager to take the order. So it allows you to get in contact there. But you'll see that to pay, you're using Zelle, you're using Cash App, and they're getting shut down pretty cyclically. So they're opening up new accounts. They're looking for something that allows them to pay, and our PayLink option really solves that for them.
And somebody
Um,
asked how it integrates online sales. So guys, again, it's basically a payment button as it would be like a Venmo or PayPal. They use their existing website. They just add the payment button for Greencard on the existing website. And also not the recording. Jackson went through that flow in this demonstration. Jackson, so now that you've gotten these merchants live, these cannabis merchants live, what are some of the success stories, or what's helping them be successful? Obviously, you just say, hey, download a new app. Consumers are not just going to be, very excited about having to download a new app, especially putting their financial information. So what are some ways that the cannabis groups are enticing them or motivating those customers to use it? I know that the cannabis groups like it because, again, it's less cash that they have to handle in
yeah.
hand. But what are some of the ways that they're encouraging their customers to use Green Card?
Yeah, so what we'd really do is we start by training the bud tenders. So we kind of take it from the person controlling the transaction. So when we bring the company on, we work with the bud tenders to get their, accounts ready, to get them familiar with the product, and then we kind of, make them de facto sales agents. So we're working with a program right now. We call it a Budfluencer program, where if a bud tender can sign up a certain amount of customers, we incentivize them. So we send them a Visa gift card, or we send them some kind of, incentive that shows that what they're doing is getting on customers as we want more of. So it really starts at the bud tender, it starts the owner, it starts at the in-store employees. It also starts with us. So, I've gone out to dispensaries, I've had agents gone out to dispensaries and help with deployment. That means getting boots on the ground, making the customer feel comfortable with the solution. And then what we also do is the free pre-roll program. So like I was saying previously, customers, especially in cannabis, want free stuff all the time. On 420, there was a dispensary in my area and they made me sign up and go like their Instagram, their Facebook, their TikTok, and it probably took, a minute and a half. In this case, it takes around 35 seconds to sign up with Greencard. When they pay using Greencard, we give them a free pre-roll, and then Greencard and the dispensary share the cost of that. Now, when they buy the pre-roll, what we see is, a large percentage of the time, these customers are return customers. Once they've used it once they've used the flow, it's pretty, you can understand it in a matter of clicks. And it's a lot easier than pulling out your debit card and typing in your PIN. So we see a lot of repeat customers, most of our repeat customers after they've done it at least once.
And guys, when I send out the recording in the deck, I'll get some information from. I know he has some workflows, some videos of what it looks like to sign up, what it looks like to do the online transactions we saw before. Just so you have that handy, because I think once you understand the experience, it's easier to speak to and it's easier to explain to the merchants that you're selling. Okay, so if you have more questions, I believe it's Jackson at paygreencard.com,
Correct.
correct? And then you guys can always reach out to me, Joey at ovationcxm.com. And let me see here. I'm just looking for any more questions that we can answer right now. Talked about white label rejection. We talked about rejections, using integrations, and then the buy rates. Jackson put in the chat, and so I'll make sure to also put that information in the follow up. But absolutely. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to Jackson. They'll send you. They can get you an agreement. Again, there's no cost to be a reseller right now. There's no additional fees other than the buy rate. And they're a great group. Luke, who is the founder and runs the product, very talented, and they can move fast, but they want to move fast with purpose, right? So if there's something that they need or they see a gap, absolutely they're open to it. And if you want them to do an integration, they're probably just going to look for some type of forecast or what's that, integrate to this point of sale. Why are you already selling the cannabis? Do you have cannabis merchants that are live? They got to reserve their dev and their engineer time for obviously the priority stuff. So again, reach out if you have any questions. Really appreciate your time, Jackson, and going through the whole demonstration. Really excited to learn more about Green Card, and congrats to your success so far. Okay,
Giuseppe, it was nice meeting you all.
have a good day, everybody.